So today we have the ultimate showdown. We are pitting Stanley versus Owala, and this is going to be a head-to-head competition on different models of water bottles. So we're going to pit the Stanley Ice Flow Tumbler, this is a 30 ounce, against the 30 ounce FreeSip Sway. We're also going to pit the Stanley Quencher ProTour Tumbler with the Owala FreeSip Tumbler. These are again same sizes. And finally, we're going to do the Stanley Quencher H2O Tumbler. This is kind of the standard Stanley tumbler with the Owala tumbler. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm generally not a side handle tumbler kind of girl. This is going to be my favorite model, hands down, out of all three of the models, but I wanted to compare apples to apples on each of these bottles. So that's why we're going to pit the same types of bottles against each other and see exactly which one has the better features. So again, let's start here with the Stanley Ice Flow Tumbler versus the Owala FreeSip Sway. Welcome to My Owala Life, where I let you know all of the tips, tricks, and everything to help you get the most out of your water bottle investment. So I used each of these water bottles for at least a full 24 hours so I can get exactly how I feel about each of these bottles. So I started out with the Owala FreeSip Sway. Now I have used the FreeSip Sway on other occasions. I wanted to do the same things with this bottle that I'm going to do with the Stanley Ice Flow so I can know exactly what I'm dealing with here. So first, let's talk about where they are similar. So first, they both come in very cute and fun colors. Obviously, I got this kind of varsity bottle here. I thought this was kind of cute. I obviously sticker this up. I have other FreeSip Sways that are also very cute colors. So you have a good variety of different colors and things. You are sure to find one that is going to fit your style. They are also both available locally. I was able to purchase this one at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I purchased this at Target, so you don't have to pay shipping or anything. You can find both of these in your local stores. They both are also about the same price. Right now, I did see a sale on these, on the Stanleys, on Dick's Sporting Goods, but normal price, everyday retail price is $35 for both of these. And both of these hold 30 ounces of water. And of course, they both fit in cup holders, and that is the biggest thing, especially with the new release of these FreeSip Sways, that they fit in almost all cup holders in your car. The previous 32-ounce Owala water bottles did not fit in most car cup holders. So this new Sway definitely fits in the car cup holders. They both do that. And both of these also claim to be leak-proof. So I will give a caveat on the leak-proofness of this one, but they are both leak-proof and you can throw them in your bag and you should be good to go. The other place where these are similar is keeping of ice. I put in the exact same amount of ice in the morning for both days. I had almost the exact same amount of ice halfway through the day when the water was all gone, and about the exact same amount of ice when I refilled it with not as cold water, and it kind of melted the ice. So at the end of refilling it, they pretty much had the exact same amount of ice, which was not very much. So now that we've got the similarities out of the way, let's talk about what I felt was different about both of these water bottles. So on the FreeSip Sway, the handle you can see is very smooth and it has kind of a rough interior here, so it grips really nice and it feels really comfortable to hold in the hand. Now, unfortunately, I did not like the handle of the Stanley. It felt really boxy. It felt like these hard edges were digging into my hands when I was holding it. And it's a little thick on this. You can see how it's a little bit thinner on the Owala than it is on here. So the handle is thick and it's boxy and it's just not as comfortable to hold as the Owala Sway. Now here's something that I'm not even sure Owala knew or did on purpose, but the FreeSip Sway has a fill line right in here in this bottle. So you can see right here, this line right here, when I filled the water up to exactly here, and then I put the cap back on, no water would spill out or anything. It was the perfect amount of water to fill this up. So there's a fill line in here. Now that's not the case with most of the other Owala bottles. The older model didn't have that problem because the threads were on the outside, but it doesn't have this same kind of fill line on the tumbler model. So like I said, I'm not sure if that was on purpose, but it is really convenient. So this has a nice, easy to use fill line, so I know exactly how much water to put in it. The Stanley didn't have such a line, and when I did fill it up, because I thought maybe this was a line right here that I could use to fill it up. But when I filled it to that line, I did get water spilling out when I put the cap on. So that's 2 points for the Owala, the handle, and this fill line. Now, because this is a FreeSip, obviously to get to the straw component, you just push the button and you are there. You can lock it so that it won't push when you don't want it to push, but for the most part, if it's unlocked, you just push the button and you're at the straw. On the Stanley Ice Flow, the straw is actually very hard to open, and it's hard to see right here on the video of how much effort I'm putting in to opening this straw, but it's definitely not a smooth transition. I'm sure as I use it more, it would loosen up, but especially right at the beginning here, it is very difficult for me to open and close this bottle. The other part is, and here's where I'm going to talk about the leak proofness. If I close the straw, but I don't close it all the way, it is going to leak out water if it's turned upside down. Even if it's just closed this little amount, that is going to cause it to leak. You have to close it all the way in order for it to be completely leak proof. Now, again, since there is no locking mechanism, if you have multiple things in your purse and this becomes a lot looser, then something could press on this and it might open it up and cause it to leak. So it is leak proof when it's completely closed like this, but you have to make sure that you push this straw all the way down or it will leak. Like even in this setting right here, this is going to leak. The other thing I noticed as I was using it, and especially while I was using it while I was working out, is that the straw hole for the Stanley Ice Flow is so much smaller than for the FreeSip Sway. You can see how much smaller this straw hole is compared to the other. So I am used to drinking from an Owala, so and most of the Owalas do have this similar spout. So it was a lot different for me to drink out of this small hole, and it felt really small just because I'm so used to the other one. So again, this is just a little bit small for my taste, and it's not as comfortable to sip out of than the Owala Sway. And then, of course, because the Owala is an Owala, it has this chug hole as well. So I can just chug water like this. I don't have that option with the Stanley Ice Flow. I use the chug hole all the time, again, especially when I'm working out. It's really nice to be able to get a lot of water at once, or if I'm taking my pills in the morning or eating my breakfast. I am very used to being able to chug from the Owala. I did not have that option with the Stanley Ice Flow. Now, finally, just aesthetically, the Stanley has this ridge here, where then it fits into the cup holder. So Owala has done something different than a ridge, and it's just more of a tapered design. So you can see that it's tapered instead of having kind of two different sections. The other part of the Owala is these flat sides. And I'm gonna go ahead and get my electric feel so you can see it a little better because this one is a little stickered up. So this is the electric feel Owala Sway. This is from the birthday bash, but you can see how it has these flattened sides right on the front and right on the back. And that makes it super comfortable for especially small hands to hold because it has these flattened sides and I can just hold it really easily. Instead, with this, it's gonna take up my whole hand and it's not as easy to hold. So you can see how much wider my grip has to be with the Stanley Ice Flow as opposed to how I'm able to hold the bottle with my hand in the Owala FreeSip. So those are the main similarities and differences between the Owala FreeSip Sway 30 ounce and the Stanley Ice Flow 30 ounce. Next up, we have the Owala FreeSip Tumbler. This is a 40 ounce and the Stanley Quencher ProTour Tumbler. Again, this is going to be a different kind of lid than the standard Stanley that you are used to seeing around. But you can see the differences here already with these tumblers. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, I am not a huge side handle tumbler person. So right off the bat, it was a little difficult for me to use both of them. So I used the Owala for a day and then I used the Stanley for a day. Now, again, with the similarities, these are both $45. So the price is exactly the same. And again, I can pick up both of them in local stores. Obviously, this is a special edition tumbler, so you can't pick up this particular one, but you can pick up the same model at Target, and you can pick these up at Dick's Sporting Goods. Again, both of these do have the ability to be leak proof. So both lids will completely block out any leaks or anything that you have. We're going to have similar issues between these that we did with the IceFlow and the Sway. Namely, on the Owala tumbler, again, we have this locking mechanism back here, and then to use it, we just click the button and we are ready to go. So with this one, again, we're going to have that similar issue. Here, the straw, while it is a little easier to move back and forth, pulling it out of that hole is a little difficult, especially if you're going to try and do it one-handed. Like that is really difficult for me to do. But that's the only way it is going to become leak-proof, because if the straw is even just this much pushed in, it is still going to leak. It has to be pushed in all the way in order to be leak-proof. So while the straw hole is a little bit bigger, and it did feel a lot more comfortable to sip out of this than out of the IceFlow, again, it doesn't quite hold a candle to how large the straw hole opening is for the FreeSip. So the side-by-side comparison, you can see the straw hole is a lot larger in the Owala FreeSip Tumbler. Now let's move on to the handles again, because I'm not necessarily a handle type girl. It was a pain for me to hold on to these. They didn't fit as well inside my purse, and these are extremely large. I am used to carrying around a 24-ounce FreeSip for Owala or the 30-ounce FreeSip Sway. So this is really large for me to hold on to, but I'm gonna actually give the handle to Stanley on this one. The handle here is nice and thick, but it's soft, and it has rough part on the top here to make it really comfortable to hold. Now with the FreeSip tumbler, I do have this kind of divot to make it a little comfortable, but it's not as thick as the Stanley, so it doesn't feel as sturdy when I'm holding it. It feels a little thin when this just feels really comfortable to hold. So handle-wise, I'm actually going to give this one to Stanley. Now, one thing that a lot of people want to know about is how well it keeps ice. I'm going to say it kept ice almost the exact same amount. So I had the same amount of ice put in the morning again. And by the halfway through the day, when I was finished with the water part, I filled it up with not as cold water from the drinking fountain at my office, and it melted the ice about the same amount. So I'm gonna have to say it was a tie for keeping of the ice. Again, because the FreeSip is the FreeSip, I do have that chugging option, which I don't have with the Stanley. So we're gonna give that one to the Owala FreeSip lid. It is just a amazing innovation and the reason I love Owala so much. So again, we're gonna have to give the chug option and the straw to Owala. So other than that, the main complaints I had was just due to the fact that these are side handle bottles. They did match up pretty similar. And both of these obviously fit in cup holders. Again, similarly to the Sway, we have this ridge here and then the part that fits in the cup holder. On the FreeSip tumbler, again, this is going to be more tapered, but this one, the tumblers don't have those flat sides, again, because you have this handle and they assume that you're going to hold it with this instead of just holding the bottle with your hand. Finally, let's move on to the original tumblers on both fronts. This is the original Owala tumbler, and this is the Stanley Quencher tumbler. Again, these are both 40-ounce bottles. They both kind of look similarly. The Owala still has that same handle that they have on the new FreeSip tumbler. So again, we are going to give the handle to Stanley. It's nice and thick and it feels really nice in the hand. On the waterproof front, both of them have a little work to do. The tumbler is a little bit more waterproof, but both of them can remove the straw, and you can see on the Owala, you can move this so that the straw hole is no longer here, and then you can sip out of that side. So, and when the straw is removed, it is a little more waterproof, but who wants to carry the straw around separately? So again, you still can sip out of it like this, and you can just use the straw. With the Stanley, if I'm going to remove the straw, it's a little more leak-proof than with the straw, but not quite as leak-proof as the Owala with the straw. And then the Stanley, you can twist this around similarly to the other, and you can chug out of the bottle this way. So feature-wise, these are pretty similar. Again, I did the ice test. They both performed about equally. So I really can't pick a winner between these. Like I said, the handle wins here. So maybe I would give it to the Stanley over the Owala on the standard tumbler, just because that handle is nicer and the chug option does have a little wider hole. So you can see how much bigger the hole is on the Stanley, which makes a nicer chug option. So for the original tumblers, we're going to go ahead and give Stanley the win on this one. For this one, we are going to just barely edge out the Stanley because of the FreeSip lid. And then on my favorite model, we're gonna hands down give it to Owala because of all of the various features that I explained. So congratulations to the Owala FreeSip Sway. So there you have it, the Owala Stanley head-to-head showdown. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. You agree with my takes? Let me know, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks.